Hi, welcome to another web broadcast from Hepatitis Scotland. I'm Leon Wiley, I'm lead officer of the organisation. And today we have Amy Solon from Waverley Care, and she's one of the workers doing the self-management program, which is for people living with or those at risk of hepatitis C. And so we'll have a discussion today about a few of the things we can take from that program, a few skills, etc., that people may be able to potentially learn, but also some of the processes that have happened. So how long's the program actually been going on for?
So initially the program is based on a 7-week kind of model where we look at different topics covering self-esteem, confidence, we look at diet, we look at goal setting and life coaching and how to do that yourself. We look at challenging negative thinking, and each week has a particular focus or a particular subject that we work through. What we've noticed in recent times, probably over the last year I would say, we've started to adapt how we've run the program. So we've focused it mainly in workshops, so that people, rather than having to commit to a 7-week program, and if they miss a week, they've missed previous topics, which can make it difficult. We've adapted for workshops so that people can come in and drop out, or they can come as they please. If they miss a workshop, they can repeat it at a different time.
When you're actually doing a workshop, what things do people come away with from it?
Like the self-management program, it's the same kind of principles. We always look at very much an asset-based approach. We firmly believe that people have the resources within themselves, the capabilities, the assets and so on, that they can enable change, and sometimes it's just the little tools that they need to give them that push. We look at how to encourage positive thinking. We look at how to battle against those negative thoughts that sometimes can hold people back. So self-sabotage can be a big thing for people, and when people understand, they get those kind of light bulb moments. Oh right, that's why I do that. We work with them to put in place strategies to help them to overcome these negative behaviour patterns, negative thought patterns that have potentially been holding them back. We also look at very practical kind of things that they can do in terms of maybe diet, or in terms of even if they were looking to move into volunteering or further training or work, what things they need to tackle to enable them to do that. And it might be things like confidence building, it might be things like a further workshop on employability skills or public speaking skills. It can be anything and everything, so we'll tackle that throughout the course of the workshops or the programme.
So there's quite a range that people are doing. What kind of things have you gone, I need to focus on that, what kind of things have given people a really big boost?
What we've really noticed, both in our one-to-one work and our group work, is that it's the self-esteem issues that are holding people back, and people often come into the life coaching programs or the workshops, and they are really missing that belief in themselves and the belief that they can enable change and make small changes to make their life better. So we're really stripping it right back to basics, and one of the first questions we ask as part of either the workshop or the self-management program itself is, how have you gotten here today? And immediately we're looking at that kind of asset-based approach, because some people have, one person in particular made, he had to walk to a bus stop, had a 30-minute bus ride, he then had to walk a further 20 minutes to get to the training venue. And when he realised that when he was looking at the kind of words that described him, he included motivated, he said he wanted to do it so he could please his worker. All of these things, it just made him realise, God, I'm made of bigger stuff than I thought. And it was lovely to see that change in him and what he'd achieved just simply by getting there. So we built it up from there, really looking at how to build on people's self-esteem and look at the assets and strengths that they've had that have gotten them to this point today, and then how they can further build on it from there. For me, I think open questioning is one of the keys in asking the who, what, where, when, how questions to understand what people have done to get them to this point. How have they coped? What are the strategies that they've employed to date to get them here, and what's worked for them, maybe what hasn't worked so well. And by asking those questions, it just builds up that kind of picture of things that they can maybe further improve or develop to help them further.
Who is in?
Who are the people in their lives? Who can support them? What agencies? What family members? What friends? What organisations? I think that's often looking at that support network, because we don't do it by ourselves, and I think I speak for everybody. You know, we're part of
very much so,
a bigger whole. So who can support us?
And then your what is organisations, or is it?
Potentially, yeah, or even things that have helped people to cope. What I've noticed, I've most recently started doing a lot of work around relaxation and breathing techniques, and people will often say to me, God, I was taught that a long time ago, that worked for me back then. And it's just remembering things like that have worked in the past. And that could be absolutely anything, whether it is relaxation techniques, whether it's diet and taking care of yourself, whether it's going out and doing some exercise. It could be absolutely anything.
Okay, then the whens, similar kind of things, you know, when a thing's worked, what times is in your life?
That's
is it?
Right, yeah, and unpicking how it's worked, the real specifics of it. And I suppose for me, when thinking about it in a life coaching context and looking at goal setting, and when do you want to achieve something by, or when do you want that to be resolved by? So looking at it in that context as well.
Often when you're working with people living with Hep C, you sometimes don't have a timeline. What about if there's more of a horror story, say, from someone? If you're putting someone in and they go, oh, I know interferon, it made my legs peel apart, etc.
Yeah, and do you know, it always happens. It happens pretty frequently. But I think, you know, it's about, as a facilitator, you're managing that as well, because, you know, some people have had a really lousy experience of treatment, and it's about being honest, and it's about sharing the positive success stories, but it's also looking at, and that's what we do cover, in fact, in the first week of the self-management programme, and throughout subsequent weeks and through the workshops, we look at how can you cope better. So things that might help you sleep better, things that might ease your pain, what has worked for other people in the room. Again, it's that kind of benefit of experience. So while some people have had a tough time, it's just really unpicking from other people how we can help them cope if that is going to be the situation for them.
I suppose using their experience on themselves and showing them that they've coped with some of those horrific areas before.
That's precisely it. Yeah. Because if people think, I've managed that in the past, they'll be in a situation that they can replicate that again, and that's really what we're trying to achieve.
I know you use some CBT in the program. What type of techniques do you use?
We use a whole range of techniques, actually. So the program has very much a CBT thread. We believe that how you think impacts on how you feel and how you behave. So we work with people. A lot of it can be done individually, and they go away with tools that they can further think through at home or at a later point. But within the group, we also look at examples. If the group aren't comfortable sharing, which usually isn't the case, we'll use one of our own examples to break down how a thought can impact on feelings and behaviour and physical feelings. So that's one approach that we take very much as a thread. We also follow a life coaching model as well, where we look at how people can move forward and the things that they need to do to move forward and how to enable them to do that. But we also look at a form of therapy called solution-focused brief therapy, which again is threaded through all of the sessions and is focused on people's assets, their strengths, their resources, their capabilities, their support networks, and the things that have helped to get them to this point and the things that have supported them.
How would you do it if you're in a one-to-one situation? Say if you're working in a community addiction service and a client came in and they were not coping very well at that period of time.
Usually, when I'm meeting with somebody for the first time, particularly, I'll say, you know, what did it take for you to get here today? And oftentimes you'll hear courage. I wanted to improve the quality of my life, and initially or immediately you're tapping into those kind of resources that are positive, that are asset based. From there, I continue to adopt that kind of open questioning technique to find out, again, things that have, find out how they want me to support them, again, through a series of open-ended questions. And then, through looking at past experiences, really eliciting how they've managed, then what can be a very effective technique is just asking the very simple question, when that happened or when that worked for you, what difference did it make to you? And oftentimes you'll hear, well, it made me feel better, and I then decided I'd go and ring my mum, and it's looking at those knock-on effects from doing that one thing, and we're very much focused, again, both in one-to-one work as well as group work, on looking at small changes, and how making one small change, like for instance ringing a parent or ringing a friend, what difference did that make? Well, it made me feel a little bit better, it made me feel less isolated, it made me decide to go and ring somebody else from there or meet up with a friend for a walk. So it's looking at not just that one change but the knock-on effects that can result from it.
Cool. That'd be really interesting to you. And those little things are things you can in a conversation
definitely
that you're having at the start of talking to someone in a counselling session or anything like
That's
that.
right.
You can use those little skills.
We cover diet as part of the programme, and I hear it all the time, but we can't afford to eat healthily, and we pick that out a little bit and look at the difference between buying a processed meal and buying fruit and vegetables, which a lot of stores stock quite cheaply. So we look at how to encourage that kind of healthy eating, and it's not about if you're going from eating, I don't know, Greg's for 3 meals a day. It's just, again, making small changes, because you can't go from having a bad diet to having a fantastic one. One example, I was running a group a few years back, and one of the participants, he ate 3 meals a day of porridge and nothing more. And not to say that porridge isn't a good meal, you know, it's good fuel for your body, but obviously you need more nutrition than porridge alone. So his ears pricked up actually at the diet section, because he didn't know the importance of having a balanced food diet. And we look at things like the food pyramid and how to make soup and smoothies. So at the end of each of the programs that each week of the program, we look at one small change that you can make between this week and next week. And what this particular person had decided that he would do was to just add some fruit into his porridge. And he came back the week later, and he had started to do this. He'd started to add in just different fruits, and I asked him again, well, what difference did it make to you? And he said, well, first of all, I enjoyed it much more. And he said, it was very strange. I actually felt like I had much more energy, and he said, I was actually, it gave me the inspiration to go for a walk. So again, just that one small change
Makes.
Yeah, absolutely, just the knock-on effects. So it was interesting.
I hear that you, with the program itself, it's kind of moving out of the
yes,
country, kind
it
of going
is indeed.
overseas.
Yes, we're moving international.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. We're very lucky with what we have. You know, self-management is very much, it's about our participants doing the work. We can provide the tools, but it's the participants who enable the changes. And as a result, it's very adaptable, it's very flexible. And last year we were approached by a partner organisation based in the Middle East, actually, and in Eastern Europe. And they were interested in looking at how we could potentially use our model in some of the countries that they work in. So this year we have trained 2 Turkish men who are based in Izmir in Turkey, and we've trained them in self-management skills, how to have solution-focused conversations. We've also had them participate in a self-management program in Edinburgh, which we ran back in October, and we are going to soon be starting stage 2 next year, where we will be going to Izmir and supporting them to engage with staff and other partners to encourage referrals into a self-management program that they will run there.
Do you think that with the translation into a different culture, there is any difference to it, or is it still the same things, the same issues, but just in a different voicing, I suppose?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it's. I think we have run this program before for an Asian community a few years back, and it was very interesting in that, because similar to what you've just said in your question, I wasn't sure how it would work, how it would translate exactly. But the impact was fantastic, and what the people who participated in the groups, when I went back to visit them a few weeks later, we do what's called a health check, which we conduct 4 weeks after the program finishes, to look at any significant changes they've made, how they've made them, and how they're going to sustain what they've learned through the programs. And I came away I was blown away by what these people had achieved and what they had done, and how they'd managed it. And so I think in the same way, the key message is it is about self-efficacy. It is about finding what's right for you, and in that sense, I think, I'm imagining that it's going to work in a similar kind of way in Turkey. Certainly, when we worked with the men that we were working with back in October, they really bought into it, and I think that's the key thing, to have the buy-in as a facilitator. You need to believe not only that the participants from the group can make changes, but also that you can change your life for the better as well. And it was a fantastic project to do, actually, and I'm really excited about the next steps.
You're doing some more training around the country.
We are, yeah. We started this time last year, or maybe a little bit longer, where we have started to train frontline staff in the delivery of the life coaching program. So we are rolling that out across Scotland at the moment, and training frontline workers so that they can deliver the workshops and the self-management program to their participants. Our remit is Scotland-wide. We have looked at Tayside this year, and we'll be working with Tayside workers again next year. We're also going to be looking at Lanarkshire, Fife, Forth Valley, and Argyll and Bute.
Well, thank you, Amy. That was great. That was really good talk and really comprehensive, and I'm sure a lot of people have learnt many things from it today, and hopefully they'll be putting that into practice when they're working with clients or people who are watching who may be affected by Hep C. They thought of some of those skills and where it can help work in their life. So that's all. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back in the near future with another broadcast. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's again going back to who are the people who can support me here. In our self-management program, for instance, it's not specifically for people who have just been diagnosed. It's that kind of through approach almost. So whether you're pre-treatment, post-treatment, and looking for the next steps, or whether you're going through treatment, it's again looking at that kind of peer support and who can support around that. What I've noticed in both our self-management programs over the 7 weeks and over the workshop kind of approach, what has really helped is having that kind of mix of people, so people who've maybe been through treatment, maybe people who've just been diagnosed, they've heard all the horror stories, they've heard all the myths and are scared, but they get the benefit of experience within the room, and they're taught or learning from other people's experience. Well, this worked for me, but also it's demythed as well.
Yeah.
You know, some people who've had a great experience of treatment can encourage people to go on to treatment from there as well, because it takes that kind of scary element out of it. They'll see, oh, well, so-and-so is doing really well, he's moving on, he's starting volunteering. That could be me.
Yeah.
And just seeing that positive role model can be really effective as well.